What's up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and welcome to the 3 C's with Ginge, the 3 C's being coffee and content creation. This is the first episode of the podcast, and thank you for coming in, and hopefully you have watched, or not watched, but listened to the introduction episode, which kind of goes over what this podcast will be and the things that we will be touching on. Today, I do have my husband with me today, and he's going to be coming in just a bit to talk, but I figured first we can go over some stuff about me and sort of why I am doing this podcast. For over a year now, I have been streaming since last year, which would be 2018. I was working in car sales before that. I was selling Toyotas, and I just kind of realized that I needed an outlet of sorts. And so one day my husband said to me, well, why don't you just stream what you're doing on RuneScape? And so that's how it started for me. I literally I don't think I had a face cam for that. I don't even think I had a mic. I simply just put up what I was doing and went from there. And it then blossomed into what I'm doing now, which is full-time streaming. I stream RuneScape 3 the most, which is a lot of fun for me. I actually just had Lootscape, which was a ton of fun. I have met so many incredible RuneScape 3 content creators, and I am so thankful for that. And then, other than that, I stream Skyrim, I'll stream indie games. I am a moderator for Twitch Kittens. I'm a part of a ton of other communities, and it's just been so much fun. Streaming wasn't something that I really ever expected to become what it has, but I am so happy that it has, and the hard work that I have now put in and am continuing to put in is really showing, and it feels amazing. So to give you a little bit more about me, again, my name is Shannon. I am Scaredy Ginge on social media. I, again, stream full-time. Before that, though, I was in sales for about 2 years. So from the year of, I think it was probably 2016 to 2017, I first sold marble and granite, and then I went on to sell tires. And then after that, for the following year, I sold Toyotas, which was incredibly fun. Car sales is a whole other ball game, and honestly, I'm very thankful for that because it gave me the confidence and the ability to be around people and kind of be comfortable with it, because that's something that I've always, I won't say lacked, but the confidence of being able to be myself around other people was something that I've not always had. And if it wasn't for sales, I don't know if I would be where I am today. And so it is something that I am thankful for. And it's a big part of my growth within the last few years. So I am married to Josh, or Mr. Josh, as you may know him if you are in my community at all on Twitch or on Discord. We've known each other for, we'll say, about 16 years. It might be longer, I'm not sure, but we went to high school together, and here we are. We're married, finally.
Yeah, there was a bit of a pause in there, but what are you going to do?
A little bit.
Hey, everybody. Mr. Josh here, the husband, but more importantly, the co-host, because she refuses to call me that, even though I am the co-host.
You're my husband first.
Yeah, I'm a co-host.
Okay.
Co-host of your life. There you go. So yeah, Sharon went into a little bit about herself and her background. My background is not anywhere near as fun. I'm pretty boring, but I've been gaming my whole life, and so that's always good. Right now, I am currently active duty military in the Army, so there's always that. That's fun. Don't ever say that. So managing a full-time military career with Shannon's full-time streaming career, it's definitely, we've had our struggles for sure, and that's a big part of some of the stuff that we want to share with you guys moving forward, but not necessarily in this episode. But Yeah, a lot of the background work, either content ideas or behind the scenes work, is actually me in a lot of ways. Not to take anything away from her, but I help come up with ideas, or like when she's stuck, I'm there to kick her in the butt or to help try to work things through.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of her success, is us just working as a team and working forward, and not just looking as an obstacle as an end all be all. We find ways to either break through it or go around it, kind of deal. So that is something we are very good at. And moving forward, a lot of tips and tricks that we will give you guys, and stuff that we have done that may or may not work for you, but maybe you'll take something out of it. So it's a bit about myself and where we currently stand. So
I guess for me, like when I first started streaming, like I said, it's not really something I saw myself doing full time. I honestly saw myself selling cars for the rest of my life because, hey, the money's great, and it's a great way to just make money and everything. But I have to say, I am so thankful for you, my husband, for pushing me, not pushing me, but kind of nudging me into streaming, because it's opened up an entire world for me now, and I don't think I would have done it without your help, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair enough to say. It was kind of just I wouldn't say a random idea I had, but it all made sense, between what we like to do in our spare time and stuff like that, and your personality and everything like that. A lot of it just lined up very naturally. There's that natural talent there, so you combined a bit of natural talent with a bit of hard work, and you get to where you're at now and where you're continuing to go. Yeah. So it just absolutely. Plus, I think people really underestimate the future of streaming and esports and everything like that. It's so early to the game. There's so much real estate, you could say, to land. It's a land grab right now. Anyone can do anything. It's just so early. It's not just dominated by people like Shroud or Ninja, let's say.
Yeah.
There's just so much room for growth, and I think people really, really, really underestimate that. So the earlier you get in and the longer you go, the more successful you're going to be, which kind of sort of segues into what this first episode is about in a lot of ways. So there, Shannon, what is episode number 1 about?
Overcoming the anxiety to start streaming.
Wow, how about that? Well, to start streaming, or just like to start really anything, or content creation, let's say.
Yeah, but I would say anything.
Yeah, because I mean, this could go to, if you want to make YouTube videos or any sort of content creation, that is the main focus. But absolutely. So my job, obviously, as the co-host, is to help guide the conversation and kind of keep you within the railroad tracks of what we're talking about, and not get off on too many segues. So that is my job here, and to just throw in inspirational and wise words here and there. So, but that will be what episode 1 is about. So with that said, I will hand it over to your host, Shannon.
That's me. So anxiety as a whole, you know what? Okay, not just anxiety. I think mental health in a huge way is at the forefront of everybody's mind. And I mean, to be expected with social media and the way that things work right now, and kind of giving everybody the ability to say what's on their mind. But I think what people fail to talk about a lot is that it's normal. It's normal to have a little bit of anxiety, or a lot, when starting something new, especially if it's something that either you've never done before, or maybe you haven't really dabbled in, you've done a tiny bit, but nothing beyond your comfort zone. And I think, honestly, I mean, for me personally, the anxiety came from, oh my God, like I'm completely going to go out of my comfort zone here. I'm going to have, at the time, my dreams were just freaking humongous. In my mind, I was going to have all of these people watching me while I'm gaming, and what if I make a mistake, and what if my voice sounds stupid, or what if I say something stupid, or what if I make a funny face, or just little things that, looking back on it now, is like, why did you worry about that? But when first starting, I mean, you don't really know any better. You're going off of people that maybe have streamed for years, and so they're comfortable, they know what they're doing, right? So I will say, in my opinion, the anxiety is normal. But I think overcoming it is what's really going to get you to the next step. And I feel like maybe a lot of people don't know how to overcome that anxiety. They get stuck in it. And I would love to kind of give some advice and pointers on how to get out of that, I guess you could call it anxiety rut that just plagues you there when you first start out.
Absolutely. I think you said it best. A lot of people are frozen by that fear. And the thing is, you got to understand about that fear and that anxiety. It's from a reality or a situation you've created in your head. It's not even necessarily a real one. You were scared to start streaming because you were thinking you're going to have 2,000 or 3,000 viewers staring at you while you're playing some first-person shooter and you were going to mess up, kind of deal. Now, it's not downplaying and saying you're not good or you couldn't handle that. It has nothing to do with that, but you're creating a situation in your head that just may not even be realistic. Realistically, your first 3 to 5 months you sat with 0, 2, 3 viewers while playing RuneScape, and it took you a whole month before you even got a cam up, kind of deal. And, one of those 3 viewers was me.
Yes.
So it's a lot of times that fear and anxiety, and just when you're stuck like that, it's just from something you've created in your mind, which isn't even necessarily real, so
call it catastrophizing. Essentially, you're turning it into this thing that it's just not.
So much bigger than it may be. And you may not, you may even just jump in. Let's say you jumped in and were playing first-person shooter and had 3,000 to 5,000 viewers, but you may just find comfort in that. But you've created a different situation in your head. You just don't know until you start. You don't know until it is within that moment and you're going through it. So, I guess you could say tip number 1 would be realizing that a lot of that fear is just made up in your mind. It's literally made up fear. Fear and anxiety is a lot to have to do with change or something you don't know. There's an expression, the devil you know versus the devil you don't, kind of deal. So you don't know what to expect when you're trying something new. Even if you have everything planned out to a T, you really don't know until it's happening. So you just got to understand that, sometimes you just got to jump into the deep end of the pool. You got to go.
Yeah.
You got to do it. And that's really going to help you adjust and grow and push past that fear.
Yeah.
And then even taking it small bits, no one said you had to jump into streaming full time. That's a scary thing. No one's saying, if you're at a decent paying job or something like that, no one said you should quit that job and start streaming. When you first started streaming, you were a car saleswoman and you worked 16-hour days and then came home and streamed 2 to 3 hours. Those were your days.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was on top of being a mother and being a wife, on top of me being full-time active duty military. So, we had, even at that time, everything was stretched so thin and stuff like that. In a lot of ways, things haven't even necessarily changed, but, you started slow and you let that momentum build up like a snowball effect kind of deal. So, so that fear is, don't take too big of a bite of the cookie. It's just start off slow. You can kind of look at it either way. You can either dip your toes in or jump in the pool, but a start has to happen, and then build that momentum, build that confidence, and then work your way up to whatever level you're trying to get to.
Yeah, because realistically, if you don't start it, how are you ever really going to get into it? And I think that's one of the things too. You can set yourself up, get ready to go, but again, it's pushing that go live button that can be the hardest thing, especially if you're somebody who isn't comfortable kind of being with other people or, whatever it may be. As simple as hitting that button can be the hardest thing to do. And that's not to say that I don't struggle with that sometimes. There are days where maybe I don't really feel comfortable, maybe, whatever it may be. I still do it because at the end of the day, it's something I enjoy doing. And, like I said, anxiety is normal in a sense, but giving into it, I feel like, is what makes it more difficult than it needs to be, Going back to, sales and stuff, for me, that's where I learned that in order to become somebody that you want to be or to reach after, those goals or those dreams or whatever it is, you have to actually take the steps to get there. And essentially, that's the same thing. Getting over the anxiety, you have to take the steps to get there. You can't just hope and pray that one day that anxiety is just going to magically disappear, because, well, that's not really how that works, you know. Would it be nice? Yes, it would be, but that's not how the world works, and that's okay. And again, that's kind of what I'm hoping with this, is that me and Josh, or, you know, me or whatever, we can help you with that. We can help you kind of get over that fear that the anxiety is causing you. So
absolutely. So just kind of recap on tip number one, you know, just start is really what it comes in. You know, no one's saying you have to, you know, I know I said, you know, jump in the pool, you know, jump in the deep end, but what I mean by that is to just start.
Yeah.
You know, again, no one's saying you have to do any of this stuff full time or give up a big chunk of your life, but
you don't have to have the most expensive stuff to do it either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, just doing something. One thing I've always said, and I actually got it from a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, is 1 is more than 0.
Yep.
You know, doing something is more than nothing.
Yep.
Moving on to tip number 2, one I'm a personal fan of is creating a plan. I think creating a plan really, really helps eliminate a bunch of that anxiety, but we need to dive a little deeper into that. Your plan needs to be a rough draft. A rough draft isn't something set in stone. A rough draft is literally a rough draft that you can edit as you go along. You don't need the perfect plan to become the world's best streamer or content creator. You just need to write out a simple plan so you're not just always winging it. There's a time and place for winging it. I'm not very good at winging it, but Shannon is. So that's something that we work very well on. But having a plan is going to eliminate some of the anxiety, because you're going to understand some of the stuff you're going to encounter, and you've already planned for X, Y, and Z in some sort of aspects. Yeah. So
I think, and, you know, I kind of touched on it on, you know, in the introduction, you know, little episode, that planning is not it's not my biggest strength. It's probably my biggest weakness. I'm not good at it. I will write out a list, or, you know, Josh will write out, you know, a to-do list for me or whatever it is, but it's hard for me to stick to it. I'm more of a, you know, free. I want to just do what I want to do when I'm feeling good. I just want to be doing what I'm comfortable with, or whatever inspiration gets me. But unfortunately, that's not always the best thing. You know, I've started how many things on YouTube and I don't finish them because I get sidetracked and I do something else, you know. And I'm not saying that, you know, lists or whatever is the absolute answer on how to be completely successful, but when setting yourself up for success, it's a good idea to have a plan. And, you know, however that plan is made out for you, that's what you need to do for yourself.
And if you're unsure, you know, maybe it's something, you know, it's an idea, it's something you want to do, but maybe you have no personal experience with, you don't know what to do. Excuse me, the cat. You don't know what to do. You need to kind of maybe seek some people out. You know, there's always some sort of rough draft somewhere of someone who's been successful in whatever you're trying to do.
Yes.
One of the easiest ways to start is to model whatever you want to do after what they've done.
Yep.
You know, because obviously, I mean, that might not be the exact plan or way to go for you. Mm-hmm. However, you know, it's a guide to starting. You know, it is a roadmap to getting to where you're trying to go. And you know it works because that person is successful in whatever field, whatever it is you're trying to do, whether, you know, YouTube, streaming, content creation, whatever it might be. Yeah. You just find someone that is successful in that field, you know, do a little research, figure out how they went from point A to point whatever, you know. I think that's really the big one. You can always model what you're trying to do after somebody else.
Yeah. So one of my biggest inspirations at the moment, and I'm sure Josh's might make him giggle just a little bit, is Lexi Games.
Yeah, I just won $20 off myself.
I don't think she ever sleeps. I don't know if she knows what sleep is, but for somebody who literally streams and has fun with her community and is a voice for a lot of people, and, you know, she's everywhere all the time. You know, Josh will say all the time, he's like, I always see her. She's always somewhere. She posts a lot on Twitter, on Instagram. When she streams, you know, she makes sure to be very active with that and such. And to me, it's just so inspiring because, again, for me, planning and such isn't what I am good at. But I can tell with her that she is a person that does that. And you can tell by the way she puts up her, the posts that she puts up. She sticks to the things that she's supposed to. And to me, that is why she is successful. Also, she has an amazing personality and all of that stuff, but she sticks to what she says she's going to do, and it comes back tenfold for her.
Absolutely. One of the greatest ways to create confidence within yourself is sticking to what you said you're going to do.
Yep.
That's something I very recently,
Follow through.
That's something I very recently have taught you in the gym.
Yeah.
If you tell yourself you're going to do 10 reps of something, you do the 10 reps, if not even more. You put it out there, and that's going to help you grow your confidence in a lot of ways. So something like, if we're talking about the overcoming the anxiety to start, overcoming the fear to start, if you tell yourself you're going to jump in, or you're going to do a little something, do it, because you're going to start to build that belief and that confidence in yourself little by little, and then it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. Just like everything else. Everything here about overcoming anxiety or the start is it will grow. People burn out because they try to take on way too much, or they think it's way bigger than themselves. But if you start small or minuscule or whatever it might be, and then just grow from there, you will raise your standards up to that level because you've grown with it, instead of just putting it so far above you and then trying to meet that level that you've put it at. Yeah.
For me, I like to call it streamer sickness. So in life, one of the hardest things that can happen, in my opinion, to a human being is being around other people that are negative. We're creatures that we feed off of others. And so, if you're in a group of people that are always down about stuff, or, whatever it may be, even if you are the most positive person in the world, you're going to start thinking like them. You're going to start kind of maybe not taking on their beliefs, but just taking on those feelings. That is just how humans work. And so what I mean by streamer sickness is, if you're going to start networking and such, maybe you're sitting in other people's streams, you're building your community, whatever it may be, you're going to run into some of those people that might not be the most positive, or might not have the best outlook, or whatever it might be. And if you continuously put yourself around those type of people, unfortunately, and I see it happen all the time, you're going to start thinking like them. And maybe, they're going to say, well, my stream sucked today because, only this person showed up and I only had one viewer. And so maybe you're going to start taking that on, when in reality, every streamer that starts there, unless they come from some other spot or some other place. Maybe they're, a popular esports person, maybe they've come from YouTube, whatever it is, but everybody starts at the bottom for the most part. And so my biggest thing with overcoming the anxiety that happens when you're first starting is finding people that you want to either be like, want to emulate, or just, finding people that are a positive influence on you, because you bring in that negativity and that is going to show. It's going to either show in your community, it's going to show in your content, whatever it may be. And then that's when that anxiety or, unsure or whatever it is pops in. And, that's been one of my biggest things is there are so many people that I started with, that started streaming around the same time as me, and they're no longer here. And a lot of times sitting in their streams and such, you can see it on their face that, maybe it's not going the way they wished it would, and it's a killer to me because, I'm, as a person that supports them and loves them, it's like, I love your your content, and, but they're just not feeling it, and to me, that might just be because who they surrounded themselves with might not be the best people to be around.
True. And I mean, the other side of that is, you're going to have good days and bad days.
Of course.
That is, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Emulating yourself after somebody you find successful or someone you like or someone you enjoy. I mean, that's all goes into part of creating a plan, honestly, because like I said, when you don't know the path forward, you find someone who's already done it and you just model what you can off of them. I think that's just when you don't know what else to do, but you're trying to push forward, that is one of the easiest things to do to push forward and figure out how to, whatever your next move is.
And again, it's not always going to be easy. There are days where I struggle. There are days where Josh struggles with, work and I mean...
Every day's a struggle. I'm in the military.
Life itself can be very just... It's a weight, whether you're going through, money stresses or work stresses or health stresses, whatever it might be. It's hard. But I think the best thing to do is to remember that right here, right now, this is good. This too shall pass. Pass, and it's hard to look at it like that because again, when you're in that moment and you're feeling that anxiety and you're feeling that fear, and you have the voices in your head telling you that, oh well, just wait another day, or you know what, I don't think I'm good enough for this, or you know what, I'm nobody's gonna watch me. Those are the times when you need to push through the hardest. It's not when you're feeling great and everything. It's the times when you're sad, when you're depressed, when you're anxious, when you're feeling like maybe you're not good enough, because that's when you start to trick your mind into like not thinking like that anymore. And it's a trick that all the gurus and everybody, you'll hear them say, because it's not really a trick. It is what works. It's how, again, the human brain works. If you are feeling a certain way, the best way to stop yourself from feeling that way is to do the exact opposite. The whole acting as if,
Absolutely. That's a great point. And another great tip just to really overcome the tough days, or, maybe that tough day is day one, or the first time you're going to click go live or click record, or whatever it might be, whatever content you're trying to push out into the world, that's a great way to do it. So again, just to recap on tip 2, create a plan, a rough draft, and adjust as needed. Part of that plan is when you don't know how to move forward because either it's something completely new and you have no resources, you find someone who's already successful and you just model yourself after them and then adjust as you're going along. Everyone's going to march to the beat of their own drum, but sometimes, the beginning of the path is going to be very similar to somebody else.
Yep.
And then I think tip 3 in our final tip, this is something I use all the time with almost anything I'm doing, is to realistically look at the situation and ask myself, what is the worst that could happen? If I try this new whatever it might be, what is the worst that could happen? And I mean, when it comes to content creation, what is the worst that could happen? People don't like my content. Okay, that is in that situation, that literally is the worst thing that could happen. And you know what the best part about people not liking something you're doing? That's direct feedback.
Yep. And that is something that I think a lot of streamers don't realize. Having somebody give you negative feedback isn't always the worst thing. It might hurt to hear it, but at the same time, it's a great way for you to learn and for you to grow. If you have somebody come into your stream and say, wow, your audio is not so good right now. Okay, it sucks because nobody likes to hear something bad about themselves. But maybe it's, you learn how to not take it personally, because that's something that I have a very big issue with. I love to take what people say about me or say about something and take it personally. And a lot of times it gets me into a headspace of being negative and unsure, when in reality, I'm very sure about what I'm doing. And I know that what I am putting out is good content. But again, allowing people to get into your head, it's not going to be the best thing. But if somebody comes in and says, your audio's not good, or wow, you're dropping frames and you're, whatever it is, okay, hey, instead of, coming back at them and being like, well, that's not very nice, simply say, hey, cool, thanks. I wasn't aware of that. Let me fix that really quick.
A perfect example of that is I can't tell you how many people you've converted into being loyal fans by literally doing that, by not lashing back at them, but being like, oh, hey, thanks. I didn't realize that. Someone comes to stream like, oh, man, I hate the music you're playing. I'm like, oh, What do you want to hear?
Yep.
You know, it's that's just that's adjusting and talking to people and just being, you know, realistic with the situation at hand. But, you know, if someone comes in and says so the audio one's great, because I can't tell you how many times that people have come and said your audio sucks, and it's always one person, something like that.
Yep.
And sometimes you just ask them, like, hey, are the speakers turned up on your end?
Yep.
Like, not meaning Shannon's end, but like the listener's end. And they go, oh,
or like, are you listening on a speaker instead of in headphones? Because
Right.
it's always going to be different, you know, and it's little things like that.
Yeah, no, so that's just, feedback is feedback. And every time you get something like that, just because you got something negative, let's say, it doesn't mean you need to adjust. You know, just because someone says, hey, I don't like the fact that you were playing an MMO, doesn't mean you need to stop streaming and go play a shooter. That's not how that works. But feedback is feedback. You know, if you have a majority of your community, whether that's one person or 100,000 people, if you have a majority of people telling you that, hey, maybe you should do this, or we want to see this, that is direct feedback, and that is always something you can try. That's a big part of Shannon's success so far, is literally, you know, there's going to come times when you're not going to have any idea what to do for content. You're going to run out of ideas. You're going to hit that block. And literally, you just look at your community and go, hey, what's next?
Yep.
You know? Or, like, maybe they don't have anything. You don't have anything, so you just put something out. I'm not saying to put junk out, but you put something out, because then you get that feedback saying, hey, we really didn't like this. You know? For example, some of the YouTube stuff you've done, people enjoyed Devil May Cry, but they did not enjoy Elder Scrolls Online.
No, they did not.
You know, like, but you put it out, you test. It's almost like testing a market in a sense, but, you know, not to say your audience is a market, but in a sense it is. So you test it, got the feedback, and then adjust it as needed. You know, sometimes you're going to start a project and you put your heart and soul to them, and then people are going to hate them, and then sometimes you're going to just wing something and it's going to be great. You really don't know. That's a part of just putting out the content to see what is going to work and what isn't going to work. So that goes back to, what is the worst that can happen? People hit the dislike button, or they just say, hey, I don't like this, or they unsub to you, or they unfollow you. And you know what? That's okay, because I'd rather weed out the people that don't want to be around me than just have people kind of faking it, you know?
And so, again, you know, on that tip, you know, my YouTube is a mixture of streaming content and gaming content, and then I have some kind of IRL stuff on there. And I'm a person that needs, honestly, just constant, just reaffirming. And it's not one of my best little traits, or whatever you might call it, but YouTube might not be the best place for that, and I have to remember that sometimes. I went a while without getting any dislikes on any of my videos, but that's because they were all gaming, and they weren't really, there wasn't any opinions in it. I was just kind of streaming about, or not streaming, but creating, you know, videos about my gameplay. So, I mean, and at that, you know, what is there to dislike about that, you know? But then I kind of switched and did some IRL stuff, and the first downvote that I got on that, it hit me hard, because it's like, wow, this is actually something that I truly put time and thought and really planned out, and people downvoted on this, you know, or whatever. It's not Reddit, but they, you know, disliked it. But then I took a step back and said, okay, somebody disliked it. Out of the hundreds of people that have watched this, one person hit the dislike button. If you think about it, that's nothing in the big scheme of things. It sucks, because, wow, there's somebody that doesn't like what I do. But at the same time, that's one person, you know? And what is the rule that you like? That, you know, you try to please the, you know, majority, you know, say 50% or, you know, 80% like what you're doing. But then there's that 10% that don't. And then,
20.
Or 20. Yeah, wow. Math is hard. And then that 20%, you know, doesn't, and then you try to please that 20%, and then the 80% ends up not liking it. So it's like, you have to learn what is and what isn't, you know, bad feedback. To me, one down or one dislike, or, you know, a little tiny fraction is nothing, you know?
And even with that too, a bit of a side note, but something like a thumbs up and a thumbs down, a like, a dislike, that's not actual feedback. Feedback is people telling you what they dislike or dislike. Yep. Just because someone smashed the downvote or whatever, that's not feedback, okay? that's synthetic bull crap, okay? Because it doesn't tell you anything. anybody can hit the down like, anyone can hit the upvote. You don't know what they're saying, what they don't like. Maybe they had buffering issues and they thought it was on your end, so they just clicked the downvote button. Maybe the quality was bad and they just, you don't know why they're hitting the thumbs down.
Yep. At
the same time, you don't know why they're hitting thumbs up either in a lot of ways. So just keep that in mind. But that isn't real feedback to an extent. It's statistics and some measurements. Obviously, if you do a video, you have a lot of thumbs up and very few thumbs down, you've caught on to something. You don't know exactly what, though, for the record. Maybe the style of video or something like that, obviously. But again, you can't just adjust off of a couple dislikes because you don't know what you're adjusting. And that's why, comment sections and stuff like that are always really good, to see what people are saying. You're always going to have trolls and stuff like that, but there's a silver lining in just about everything, so you have to kind of filter through and really see what people think, good or bad. So again, to recap on tip number 3, what is the worst that could happen? You just ask yourself that going into anything, and I promise you that's going to eliminate a lot of the anxiety. I know that seems kind of backwards because you're nervous about doing something, but when you're realistic about what is the worst that could happen, the worst that can happen is someone you potentially don't know on the internet is going to say, I don't like this. Oof, that's scary, huh? So,
and there's something that you had said before, kind of you get the people that come, so this is something that happened to me a couple weeks ago. I had somebody come into my stream and everybody thought, and he was being kind of trolly and a little weird, but he ended up subscribing to me and now is a huge part of my community. Another thing to remember too is that not everybody is going to kind of communicate and be a singular way. And so, kind of, again, with overcoming the anxiety, your viewers and the people that are going to be watching you are also overcoming an anxiety when they're talking to you. They're reaching out to you, and I think that's something to remember too, that maybe sometimes the way somebody's acting isn't reflection on you whatsoever, it's them. And, that's why in my stream, I like to be positive and kind of chill and relaxing because, not everybody is comfortable, with talking in there. And so they might come off a little maybe weird or whatever it might be, but.
Yeah, I mean, a side note on that too, you have to understand, especially with the internet, you have cultural differences too.
Yep.
You're not just dealing with whatever nationality you are, so there's a lot of that kind of stuff as well. This is just something to always kind of keep in mind. So just the way someone's coming across, you don't really know their background or all the details of their life or why they are the way they are. So I always give people the benefit of the doubt like that. So again, also just something to keep in mind. You really don't know. But again, something like positivity, that's a universal language.
Yes, it is.
It doesn't matter where you've come from, who you are. That is something that is always kind of understood. And that is a key to success in general. So to recap our 3 tips that we kind of just went over, there's plenty more, but these are the 3 big ones we want to focus on because these are the 3 that have really just shown Shannon a ton of growth up front. So overcoming fear. Tip number 1, jump in, just start. Sometimes you got to start small and that's fine, but just start, do something. 1 is more than 0. Okay, guys, you got to start. Tip number 2, create a plan, like a rough draft, and adjust as needed. That's going to help just kind of eliminate a lot of the question marks and the I'm unsure how to move forward. But get a plan down. I'm a huge component of writing things down. I love plans on paper because I find them to be much more real than just trying to do something in your head. So get something down, a rough draft, and continue to adjust as needed. And tip number 3, continuously ask yourself when you go to do something, whether it's create content or whatever you might be doing, ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? And I promise you, a lot of times it's a lot less scary than what you think it is.
So, for this first episode, I think that will just about do it. I hope that you are able to take at least something from this. I hope that maybe you haven't learned something, but you've kind of maybe vibed with something that we've said, or something just kind of hit you and it gave you, I hope somebody's had like an aha moment, because I love those and they're exciting. Overcoming anxiety is never an easy thing to do, because anxiety literally is your brain just going like wreaking havoc on itself, you know? And so I hope that we've given you a tool or two to kind of help you on the road to overcoming the anxiety, to pushing start or interacting with, you know, people or whatever it might be.
That was a weird way just to kind of end that sentence. I feel like there should be a lot more than that. But
What should be there?
What you said to push start. I mean, most of us push start in the video game. Most smash that go live button or that record button.
Yes.
But whatever.
Okay.
No, I absolutely. I do as well. Also hope that you took something out of this for you, whether it's like something, a tip that works directly for you or one that just doesn't work for you. Because sometimes realizing that, hey, that doesn't work for me will bring you a step closer to realizing what does work for you.
And so with that, I hope you have enjoyed. My name is Shannon, again, Scaredy Ginge. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. And we will see you next time for episode 2. If you have liked what you've heard, please leave feedback. Let us know what you think. And we look forward to growing with you and helping you grow and having you guys help us grow too.
Absolutely.
So until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.